Can Gen Z become Stoic? The ancient philosophy making a TikTok comeback. Introduction: the unliking pairing. Imagine this. A Roman emperor walks into a TikTok scroll session. Marcus Aurelius meets viral dance trends. Seneca debates with Instagram influencers. Sounds impossible, right? Well, this collision of worlds is happening right now, and it might just hold the key to understanding one of the most fascinating cultural phenomena of our time. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're exploring a question that's been trending both in philosophy circles and on social media. Can Gen Z, the generation defined by digital overload, instant gratification, and what some call an intimacy avoidance problem, truly embrace an ancient philosophy known for its resilience, emotional control, and focus on what's essential? Can the most anxious generation find solace in the most disciplined philosophy? Let's find out. The unlikable revival. Stoicism goes viral. First, let's talk about the revival. Stoicism is experiencing a massive resurgence online. On TikTok alone, videos tagged with #Stoicism have garnered hundreds of millions of views. From viral memes to bite-sized lessons, Gen Z is consuming ancient wisdom in 60-second clips. One particularly popular video shows Sisyphus pushing his boulder, accompanied by a flowchart that asks, "Do you have a problem? Can you do something about it? If not, then why worry?" This neatly packages a core Stoic principle: focus on what you can control, into a Gen Z-friendly format. But it's not just TikTok. The subreddit r/Stoicism boasts about 2 million members, and podcasts like The Daily Stoic have exceeded 150 million downloads, attracting celebrity advocates from pop star Camila Cabello to actor Matthew McConaughey. This isn't your grandfather's philosophy class. It's a full-blown digital movement. And Gen Z isn't just passively consuming this content. They're creating it. Take, for example, the Gen Z Stoic podcast, started by two Colorado teens. They define Stoicism as the pursuit of self-mastery through your emotions, perseverance through hardship, and seeking wisdom. Having used it to navigate personal challenges, they felt their generation needs the truth more than ever. What is Stoicism beyond the buzzwords? So what exactly is Stoicism? Let's break it down beyond the inspirational quotes. Founded in ancient Athens by Zeno of Citium around 300 BCE, Stoicity is a philosophy designed for practical living. It's built on a few core principles that might sound surprisingly relevant. As Epictetus, who started his life as an enslaved person, famously taught, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." And Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most famous Stoic, reminded himself in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't about suppressing emotions. As the Stoic scholar Stephen Hanselman explains, the goal was to eliminate toxic emotions and replace them with good emotions, what they called eupatheia, like rational wishing, gratitude, and joy. It's about building emotional resilience, not becoming emotionless. Why now? The Gen Z mental health crisis meets Stoic solutions. So, why is this 2,000-year-old philosophy resonating so deeply with the youngest generation? The answer might lie in the unique pressures Gen Z faces. This is a generation that grew up amid a pandemic, economic uncertainty, political polarization, and climate anxiety. Research shows they report the highest levels of stress and anxiety, and they're the least sexually active generation despite living in a sex-positive era. Many are also struggling with what therapists call emotional vulnerability avoidance. As one psychotherapist notes, for many young adults today, holding someone's hand can feel more intimate than sex, because sex is often framed as casual, but emotional openness? That's what feels terrifying. This has led to a rise in situationships, the gray area between friendship and relationship that Gen Z has embraced. often as a way to maintain connection while avoiding the perceived risks of true emotional commitment. Into this chaos steps Stoicism, offering what feels like a psychological toolkit for turbulent times. The Stoic focus on controlling your perceptions and responses directly parallels techniques used in modern cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which was actually partly inspired by Stoic teachings. When you're feeling overwhelmed by the news or a stressful notification, the Stoic practice of returning to what's within your control, your breath, your next action, your attitude, can be incredibly grounding. As Seneca wisely noted, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. For a generation that does a lot of its suffering in the imagined futures of social comparison and climate anxiety, this hits home. The compatibility test. Can Gen Z really be Stoic? This brings us to our core question. Can Gen Z truly become Stoic? Let's look at the arguments for and against. On one hand, there are powerful points of alignment. Stoicism's DIY ethic, the idea that you have all the inner resources you need, appeals to a generation of self-starters and individualists. Its focus on what you can control is incredibly empowering when you feel powerless about big issues like the economy or the environment. The philosophy also offers an antidote to digital overload. As one Gen Z writer observed, the stillness once praised by Stoic thinkers is now seen as discomfort. Stoicism challenges us to reclaim our ability to sit still, reflect, and choose action over reaction. But there are also potential conflicts. Gen Z has been shown to struggle with aspects of emotional intelligence related to self-management, particularly with impulse control and stress tolerance. Stoicism requires discipline in exactly these areas. There's also the question of whether Stoicism might inadvertently reinforce the very intimacy avoidance we discussed earlier. If misinterpreted, the focus on emotional control could be misused as justification for emotional suppression rather than healthy management. A therapist perspective offers balance here. Avoidance of intimacy isn't a flaw or something to feel ashamed of. It's a protective strategy that made sense once. Healing starts when we begin to gently question whether those defenses still serve us now. The healthiest approach to Stoicism would be as a tool for engaging with life more fully, not for withdrawing from it. How to practice Stoicism as Gen Z. A starter guide. So if you're a Gen Zer interested in trying Stoicism, how do you start in a way that's authentic and sustainable? Here are a few practical steps. Control your scroll, not the algorithm. Practice the dichotomy of control with your digital life. You can't control what trends or what others post, but you can control your attention and time spent. As Marcus Aurelius might say if he had a phone, the best revenge is to not be like your notifications. Evening review, not doom scrolling. Instead of ending your day by mindlessly scrolling, try the Stoic practice of evening reflection. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? What could I have done better? What am I grateful for? This is about taking back control of your mental space. Seek discomfort, not just safety. Gen Z is often criticized for safetyism, but Stoicism encourages voluntary discomfort to build resilience. As the hosts of the Gen Z Stoic podcast put it, you want to be uncomfortable. That's where you grow. This doesn't mean putting yourself in danger, but perhaps occasionally choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. Practice amor fati, love your fate. This Stoic concept encourages us not just to accept what happens, but to love it as part of our path. As one modern interpretation suggests, true happiness comes from embracing every outcome. When that DM gets left on read or that job application gets rejected, can you see it as part of your unique journey? Conclusion. The modern Stoic. So, can Gen Z become Stoic? The evidence suggests not only that they can, but that many already are. They just might not know it by that name. The teen choosing to focus on their studies despite family stress. The activist advocating for change while accepting they can't control the outcome. The person setting boundaries on their screen time. These are all practicing a form of modern Stoicism. The real opportunity isn't for Gen Z to become perfect ancient philosophers, but to adapt this timeless wisdom to meet their unique challenges. As one Gen Z content creator reflected, Stoicism doesn't demand we ditch technology, but it challenges us to use it with intention. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. For Gen Z, the very obstacles of digital distraction, economic uncertainty, and intimacy fears could become the very path to developing a stronger, more resilient character. Maybe the question isn't whether Gen Z can become Stoic, but whether Stoicism can become Gen Z. And based on what we're seeing across social media, the answer appears to be a resounding yes. What do you think? Can you see yourself applying Stoic principles to your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you have your own Stoic practices, we'd love to hear about them. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this deep dive. Until next time, remember, the obstacle is the way.